Spend less time in the laundry room and more time doing the things you love. Introducing the Samsung Smart Top Load Laundry Pair, now available at Lowe's. The washer's large capacity means you can fit more in every load. Plus, its super speed setting washes a full load in only 28 minutes. Shop the smart washer that will streamline laundry day, backed by Lowe's Price Promise. Based on using super speed on a normal cycle with an 8-pound load. Terms apply. See Lowe's.com/price promise for details. U.S. only.
How long does it take to tackle a home project? With Angie, you could cross it off your list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need. Indoor or outdoor, repair or redesign. And we handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. You don't have to lift a finger, except to tap the screen or click the mouse. Plus, Angie is free to use. So bring us your next home project, and we'll bring it home. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
I mean, who's got a better life right now than Jason Aponte when it comes to covering the 49ers? Jason, what up, man?
Bonta, how are you, man? Hey, I got to say, I appreciate all those kind words. And, yeah, man, those Jordans, they don't pay for themselves. So.
No, they don't. They're expensive. That's a, they trust me. I've been my bank account looks pretty dry right now with all those Jordans. But, look, man, you were in Vegas. You were covering the draft. And I got to say, man, is it just us in this Niners bubble? But it felt like this draft lacked a lot of buzz. Now, there wasn't a lot of quarterbacks being selected. We know there was one quarterback that was drafted in the first round, that 20th, Kenny Pickett going to Pittsburgh, and that was the first time a quarterback has gone that late since Jim Druckenmiller back in 96, 97. I remember that draft, too, when Bill Washington said, Jake Plummer, Jake Plummer. They take this guy out of Virginia Tech, and we know the history there. Was it just me, or did this draft lack a lot of buzz?
No, I don't think it was just you, honestly. There was a lot of buzz going into the draft, especially in the room, about a lot of people trying to trade out of the 10 because they felt that this draft wasn't exactly top-heavy, but that they felt that there was a lot of depth later on. And I think for the 49ers, a lot of the buzz is zapped without a first-round pick. But I would remind people their first-round pick is Trey Lance, which to me would be pretty good, and for me would have been the number one pick regardless of who was on the board this year. So I just think it's more about the first-round pick not being there for the 49ers and the flashiness of the names, I believe.
Right.
So you're not necessarily wrong there.
Jason, in the second round out of USC, let's get to the actual draft picks. In the second round out of USC, they chose edge rusher Drake Jackson. And I remember prior to the draft when I saw that Eric Armstead was going to be announcing the second-round pick, I thought in my head, like, wouldn't it be kind of awkward if he ends up picking an edge rusher, which they ended up doing. Do you think that what do you expect from this guy? Do you think he's going to be the successor to the guy who was announcing the pick in Eric Armstead? Do you think he's just going to take Arden Key's place on the line? What do you expect from Drake Jackson?
Honestly, I believe that he's going to be more of a D Ford replacement, especially initially, because right now he's a pass rush specialist. I mean, the guy wins with a lot of finesse. He's a bigger guy, but he can win inside and outside on the line. And he would just have to develop a little bit more moves in terms of power rush moves, right? Like Nick Bosa has so many things in his bag, not to compare him to that, but I believe Chris Kosuric can show him a few things and get him some different moves. So for me right now, he kind of slots in as the D Ford replacement, which would put him opposite of Nick Bosa and give him an opportunity to thrive while he's learning in the league.
Jason Aponte here on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game with nice guy Stephen Langford in for Joe Shashka, the Butcher. I am Bonta Hill, and we're breaking down the 49ers draft picks here, and we'll get to Deebo in just a second and what Shanahan had to say about that. But the third-round pick that the Niners made really raised a lot of eyebrows. I personally like to pick Tyrion Davis-Price, a running back from LSU. Remember the running back room last season, JaMychal Hasty, he's always hurt. Jeff Wilson Jr. is battling injuries throughout his tenure with the 49ers. Trey Sermon, for whatever reason, couldn't pick up the offense and was basically non-playable last season. Deebo had to pick up the rock and start running the ball, which is the issue we're having now with Deebo Samuel wanting to come back. Tyrion Davis-Price, was that a surprising pick to you? And what did you think about the pick?
The player himself wasn't a surprise. I think it was the location of the pick that kind of threw people off. And I'm kind of glad that you brought up the Deebo Samuel thing because it felt like this was a pick to kind of tell Deebo, hey, see, we've got guys here that we can have carry the load instead of giving it all to you. But I feel like the people are upset more with the pick than they are with the player. I think he's a tough runner. I think his burst is a little bit slept on. I think the really big attribute that he has that can contribute to this team immediately is his pass protection, which we all know Shanahan likes very much. So I really believe that, sure, maybe I don't like it where it's at. You know, he's got a draft grade that was a little bit later on. But if if it works out and it helps smooth things over with Deebo, and he can also help with pass pro, time will tell in a year or two, how we really feel about this pick.
Jason, we've seen the 49ers develop guys on the defensive line and maybe bring out the better part of their game that other teams couldn't. And I use Arden Key again as an example. Clearly, they're really good at developing running backs. If you had to choose either or, which one do you think that 49ers, at least being on the 49ers, it gets the best out of their game? Which position? Do you think it's a player on the defensive line, or do you think it's a running back?
I think it's a defensive line. I mean, when you look at how the 49ers won last year down the stretch, it was with pass rush. I mean, when you look at guys, the 49ers have done a great job of developing guys that they bet on with traits. What I mean by that is Jordan Willis, Arden Key, Kerry Hyder for a little while, in 2020. He's back this year. So I would say that Chris Kosurik continues to be a guy that, a lot of people speak about, but I feel like isn't talked about enough in terms of the way that this team wants to win, which is within the trenches. And pass rush is how you close out games. Yep. And that's how the 49ers won going down the stretch. So I'm gonna give the nod to the defensive line.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Chris Kosurik because I think he's one of the best D-line coaches in all of football. I'm sure you've been out there to training camp, Jason, where he's working at D-line, and they're always the best position group on the field. It feels like every single training camp. And you're right, this team wants to play bully ball, which is why I like the pick from LSU. I get it. People are saying, maybe you could have got him in the fourth round, but he's a physical runner. Elijah Mitchell's physical. They have a physical defensive line, and that's how you win in the postseason here. But I want to talk about the slot guy, Danny Gray, because that feels like one position that the Niners just haven't had under Shanahan. Now, we've seen Kendrick Bourne play a little slot. He was a very good third down wide receiver. They tried with Richie James Jr. Some people feel like Richie James Jr. didn't get a valid shot to really thrive in the slot. Trent Taylor, we know how that story played out. But it feels like Danny Gray could be that guy. Nice little wiggle guy. He's got speed, can run after the catch. Danny Gray, SMU, what do you think about him being a fit in this offense?
I love it because I think it I know the big conundrum outside of the Deebo Samuel thing for 49ers fans is what's going on with the quarterback position, but I feel like Danny Gray's skill set lends itself more to Trey Lance than it does Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's not to say that Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't thrive with Danny Gray because he is a yards after the catch guy, but 4.33, 40 speed, he could be in the slot. Only concern right now is drops, but, get in front of that jugs machine and you can work that. I think he's going to be somebody who can be used situationally, as we saw that Juwan Jennings turned into the bigger Kendrick Bourne on third down, making big plays on first down in the red zone as well, too. The 49ers haven't had a guy who can take the top off of a defense and clear things out and lighten those boxes since, and get ready for this name, since a guy named Marquise Goodwin. That's how long it's been. So as of right now, Danny Gray slots in as a guy who situationally can blow the top off of defenses. If he can get those drops in, I think that he can be an impact player down the line.
We are joined by Jason Aponte, who covers the 49ers via the Sprint Right Option podcast. Jason, I'm just going to throw this name out. Deebo Samuel, everything that's happened with him. I mean, is he going to be on the roster in 2022? What's the latest with him? And what are you thinking with this whole Deebo Samuel situation?
Well, I mean, who knows what's going on, especially with all the twists and turns. But I think since the draft has come and gone, I feel much more comfortable that he'll be here at this point. The 49ers have kind of turned this into a staring match, and the both of them are playing chicken at this point. But the 49ers don't necessarily have to do anything, being that they have team control over him and can utilize the franchise tag. Now, whether Deebo wants to play on that franchise tag or play this year out and try to come back to the table again, that is something I don't know. But I feel more confident, especially after the 10th pick went off the board and he wasn't traded, that Deebo will be on the roster. It just depends if Kyle can do what he said in the press conference after the draft, which is he can hope that he can repair the situation. So I'm going to say yes right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And if Deebo is on his roster, Jason, and you mentioned Trey Lance, how he would have been a number one overall pick in this draft, and I'm with you there. And we saw glimpses of Trey Lance last season. I feel really good about Trey Lance starting at quarterback for this team. If Deebo's back and you have Kittle and Ayuk and you have this quick slot guy, Danny Gray, and you got the stable of running backs, right now, I believe that the 49ers are a top 4 team, top 5 team in the NFC, which puts them in the driver's seat and puts them in contention to get back to the Super Bowl. How are you feeling about this Niners offseason? And do you agree with me there with the Niners being a top 4, top 5 team in the offseason? Because a lot of people are saying, oh, man, this is a terrible offseason. I see Jason Verrett is back. I'm not mad at that move. The D-line is basically together. The linebacking core is back. You still have Jimmy Ward. I get strong safety may be an area of weakness here. But overall, I think the Niners are right where they want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you look at the other teams in terms of the NFC that have kind of taken steps back. I mean, the Packers, they beat the Packers last year. Now the Packers are basically starting over at wide receiver at this point. Nobody in the NFC really scares you, although Philadelphia made a big splash move with A.J. Brown.
Right.
Even the 49ers division itself kind of got weakened now that the boogeyman is out of that division as well, too, in Seattle. And it sounds like what Pete Carroll said is that Geno Smith is in the driver's seat for quarterback one.
Oh, that's 2 dubs.
So that's
Geno, thanks.
That's one team that's off the board. But I will say this. The thing that has me optimistic about this defense more than anything is I'm glad you brought up Jason Verrett, because now the 49ers have, I would say, without hyperbole, the deepest cornerback room that they've had during the Shanahan-Lynch era.
I'm with
You're
you.
looking at possibly being Charvarius Ward on one side, Jason Verrett on the other, and Emmanuel Mosley can move into the slot. And Emmanuel Mosley was the best cornerback on his team last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is the first time that the 49ers can couple that pass rush with a deep secondary, and I think that makes them very dangerous, especially when you look at who they're going to have to cover in their division, in the NFC as well, too. Pass rush and coverage for the first time are going to meet hand in hand during the Shanahan-Lynch era, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point there. I'm a big Mosley fan. And then, obviously, Omri Thomas got a lot of reps late down the year. Yeah, he got cooked at times, but I think that experience of playing in those big games against top-flight wide receivers is only going to help him moving into year number 2. And we'll see about Deommodore Lenoir at quarterback. So I'm with you there with the cornerback situation. We'll see what happens at safety. But overall, I'm feeling really good about the 49ers. Twitter may think differently, but, Jason, at least we're all on the same page here with the 49ers. Hey, Jason, we always thank you for the time. You do excellent work, excellent stuff out in Las Vegas and the Combine. Of course, if it wasn't for guys like you, I would be lost with all the basketball I have to cover. So thank you so much for the time and recapping the 49ers draft.
Bonta, Steve, thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words, and it's always a pleasure and an honor to join you guys, man. This is stuff that I always dreamed about when I was a youngster.
Spend less time in the laundry room and more time doing the things you love. Introducing the Samsung Smart Top-Load Laundry Pair, now available at Lowe's. The washer's large capacity means you can fit more in every load. Plus, its super speed setting washes a full load in only 28 minutes. Shop the smart washer that will streamline laundry day, backed by Lowe's Price Promise. Based on using super speed on a normal cycle with an 8-pound load. Terms apply. See Lowe's.com/price promise for details. U.S. only.
Angie's List is now Angie, your home for everything home. With Angie, you could cross your next project off your to-do list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need, and we'll handle the rest, sending a top pro to get it done. Or browse reviews, compare quotes from pros, and connect instantly, all for free. For everything from routine maintenance to a dream remodel. Because however you want your project done, we'll get it done. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.